What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Eye on the U. Not just any edition, the post-national championship game edition of Eye on the U. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, joined as always by our University of Miami beat writer, Jordan McPherson, who I've had the pleasure of not just doing this show, but covering a lot of things over the years. But Monday night was a treat to do with you, Jordan, and a lot of people on our staff. To see the Hurricanes back in the national championship game. Unfortunately for Canes fans, though, comes up just a little bit short. 27-21 loss. Congrats to the Indiana Hoosiers, a well-earned 16-0 season, triumphant on Miami's home turf, even though technically they were the designated home team. And the trophy ceremony sure showed how their fans showed up in force for them and kind of turned more than half of that stadium to sound like Bloomington, Indiana for a little while. But we're going to talk a lot about that, a lot about what happened in the game. We're going to recap the emotions, the season for Miami as a whole, the positives and the negatives, the mostly positives of the program's trajectory heading upwards now, as seeing what they were able to do this year. They defied some expectations, maybe not internal, but external expectations that people had even at midseason on where this team would end up. And then we're going to look towards the future, the immediate future of the program at the transfer portal, in particular the quarterback position. As we know, for the second year in a row, they're saying goodbye to their starter, and it'll be someone new at the helm of this offense. So let's just start with it, Jordan. Again, like we said before, had one or two mistakes been avoided, maybe. You never know what would have happened in the end. But Miami comes away with this feeling good about their season, I'm sure, but also it stings because when you get this close, especially – when the game itself is this close and, you leave some meat on the bone, you leave a little bit on the table just because of mistakes and things that you regret, it hurts. And I think it showed last night on the postgame what you saw out of Mario Cristobal and especially in the guys like Ruben Bain and others that won't be here next season.
Yeah, no, it was a tough scene to watch. I mean, I was in the locker room post-game, and the silence told the story. This team did so much. I mean, they defied odds, as you said. After the SMU loss November 1st, nobody thought they would have even made the playoff field, let alone get to the national championship game. But they said that entire final month of the season, just give us a chance, and we will show that we belong. And they proved through this entire playoff run that they belong. Beating at Texas A&M at Texas A&M. Beating the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes, beating the Ole Miss Rebels in a wild back-and-forth final 7 minutes, and then hanging with Indiana even after an offensively atrocious first half. 69 yards of offense in the first half, 0 for 6 on third down. Only real scoring opportunity comes up with a missed 50-yard field goal, and yet 3 different times in the second half get back to within 3 points. Again, we said last episode, they were probably going to play as close to a perfect game as possible to have any chance to beat this Indiana Hoosiers team. Fantastic team, fantastic season. Even with a lot of slip-ups. I mean, they had that one drive where 2 different penalties on third downs extended the Indiana drive. They had the block punt that got returned for a touchdown. And then Fernando freaking Mendoza wasn't great for 3 quarters. What did not look like a Heisman quarterback for 3 quarters. And then those final 2 Indiana drives were just absolute daggers. 4th down back shoulder pass, his 4th down run to get the touchdown, their second to last drive, barreling through Wesley Bissainthe and Jacoby Thomas to get into the end zone. And then on the final drive to get another back shoulder pass on third down to set up a field goal. And even with all that, minute 42 left, Miami was only down 6. 1 drive, 75 yards. They get to the 41. And then Carson Beck's throw to Keelan Marion. Keelan Marion had no idea the ball was coming to him. Jamari Sharp, Northwestern alumnus. And do you want to give the rest of the backstory, Andre?
Nephew? Did I say right? Nephew of Glenn Sharp, ironically enough, who I'm old. I covered his signing day at Carroll City, but he's known more for obviously being the one who was unfortunately called for pass interference back in the hose job game of 2002 against Ohio State, the late interference call that cost Miami from having 6 national championships back then.
Yeah.
His nephew
and
denies
his nephew
Miami.
with the game-sealing interception. And you could just see how raw and how painful all of this was in the immediate aftermath. But when you peel back the layers, as I tried to do throughout post-game, all of them just kept saying, look at where we came from.
Yeah.
3 years ago, this team was 5-7 in their first year under Mario Cristobal. They went 7-6 the year after. They were one of the first teams out of the playoff field last year. And this year, all they had to do was get in to show why they deserve the shot. And the loss hurts. Yes, 27-21 to be that close hurts. But they know that they have the pieces in store, in-house, and with what's coming to show that this 1 year wasn't a fluke. Their goal is to show that they can build on this and get back here and get back again and again and again. And they set a very strong foundation with this group.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's going to be the trick now. And it's funny because Mario talked about that. He said, yeah, we're pissed right now that we lost and all of that. But that doesn't automatically mean you're entitled to, oh, yeah, we're upset. We're going to get back here next year. Everything has to be done. The focus has to be there, the detail, everything. They have to work hard to get back to this point. These chances are rare. These chances are really rare. I mean, when you see teams like Alabama and others get there year after year, it's because they've built something there. There's a standard, and they were able to achieve it. But it's not easy. That's what you hope this was the springboard for. That this was now going to be Miami, whether you win it or not, being a playoff regular in their team. And I think, how does that start? You can't leave a doubt where you're putting it in the hands of a committee by a hair getting into a playoff. No, you have to go through a season. I'm not saying necessarily maybe in this day and age, you don't need to necessarily go undefeated, but you need to dominate your regular season for the most part and avoid having pretty much any slip-ups like this and just get in. I think their next step is win the freaking ACC already. They should dominate. If this team is an image of what they're going to be for a long while now, you have to go and be the Seminoles in the old days that would slap the ACC around and win it every year. You have to be Clemson that did that for a long time and won a couple of national championships. Well, guess what? They have to own this conference and start winning it, and don't let a tiebreak, a BS 6 tiebreaker or some crap keep you out of the big dance. And once they do that, they'll be there. And now, how do you do that? Obviously, recruiting is going to be huge, which they're continuing to do. We're going to talk about the portal later. They already have, seems like they have their replacement for Carson Beck in place, it looks like. But it comes on the other side of the ball. And that's the regrettable part of last night, is like special talents like Ruben Bain, unfortunately, won't be able to hoist that trophy. Those guys are hard to find. So it's hard to find great talent. It's hard to find special elite talent that you're going to see like him. That you're going to see him now in the NFL. He's going to tear it up. Finding those guys. You need at least a couple of those guys on your team if you want to be a true national champion. And getting even close to that level, that's what Miami's going to have to keep doing year in and year out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Ruben Bain, Francis Malinoa, both of them are going to be first-round picks. Akeem Mesidor, most potentially pushing himself into the first-round consideration after an absolutely dominant year here. Again, they're losing a lot of pieces. I mean, those three, they could basically be losing almost their entire starting offensive line. I mean, Inez Cooper is gone. James Brockmeyer is gone. That's your center through right tackle. Markel Bell could be coming back. I don't believe he will be coming back. He has the potential because he was JUCO early that he might be able to get an extra year. But they could be down 4 offensive linemen. CJ Daniels, Keelan Marion, 2 key transfer portal additions. They were one and done. Keontae Scott, an absolute menace at the nickel corner spot. Jacoby Thomas, a godsend at safety. Both gone. Wesley Besaint and Mo Torre. Wesley Besaint, one of the guys who was here from day one. Part of that group that was here for everything under Mario Cristobal. A leader among leaders on that defense. They have a lot to replace, but they also still have a pretty dominant core. Mark Fletcher saying he's coming back for his senior year. Malachi Toney, who I was looking all this up right before we started because something that got lost in the midst of everything last night. With 10 catches and 122 yards last night, Malachi Toney finished with 109 catches and 1,211 receiving yards, both single season Miami Hurricanes records, as a freshman who came in a year early.
Yeah.
And he is obviously going to be front and center of the wide receiver core. They're going to need some guys like Josh Moore and JoJo Trayer if he stays. It sounds like, based off of what our colleague Barry Jackson got from receivers coach Kevin Beard at Media Day, it sounds like JoJo Trayer is staying. We'll see exactly what happens there. Guys have until Saturday to enter the portal because of the championship. But they're going to need some of their guys to step up. Their offensive line, Jackson Cantwell, the top recruit from last class, and a few guys who have been waiting in the wings behind this starting group are going to have to step up. You're going to have to find just all these replacements, but Miami has built that depth with stacking these recruiting classes. And they've shown that when they see deficiencies, they've shown they can win the transfer portal as well to get those quick fixes until they're able to fully replenish depth that's needed. And if they can continue winning that, continue stacking there, Miami has a chance to keep doing what they showed they could do this year.
There's no doubt they achieved a lot this year. That staple that you're talking about of being able to replenish the roster is there. And you know how it is when you win. More and more people are going to want to come here now. And we see it on the high school level. It's the same is true on the college level. I think more people are going to be more incentivized to come here, not just because of money, but just to be a part of what's being built here. I mean, you saw it last night, Jordan. We're on the field, and we want to talk about post game. These guys, a lot of them are distraught, and you've got legends. I mean, true legends of the game coming over and saying, "You did great.
Yeah,
it's good. We will have our day. You will have your day. Trust me. Just keep building. Keep doing this." But even pregame, it's a who's who of people out there of Miami history. It's a who's who of celebrities. I mean, I know it's been said over and over, but they truly did recapture the magic that was once this program. And they've done it now in this last season or so. Can they sustain it is the big thing. I bet on possibly, I think I think they can. I think they can. I think they, as long as from a football standpoint, you got to have the right person at the helm too. And, it's unfortunate after everything that Carson Beck went through to get back from the injury that it ends on a low note like that, and a tremendous stretch run and playoff run that he had. But, again, hats off to Indiana. And it feels different. Miami has had 4 losses like in their history, counting last night, in a true national championship game type setting. Penn State underachieved. Alabama kicked their ass in 92. We're not even going to go there on 0-2 on what should have been. This felt different. They were the underdog. Yeah. But did they take the fight to Indiana? And had it not been maybe for a block punt return, the mistakes you mentioned, and of course the pick at the end, I mean, they were right there. They were right there potentially from capping an amazing story with an even more amazing finish.
Yeah, and again, Indiana, they were, from start to finish this year, one of the most complete teams. The fact that Miami hung with them, and really the only teams that hung with them all year were Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, and then the Penn State game, which was, again, Mendoza leading the heroic final drive. 3 teams out of 16 were able to hang with Indiana. Miami was one of them. Again, the Miami team that, if something happened here or there, if something maneuvered around, wouldn't have even been able to show that they could hang with them. Miami showed they can hang. And it's going to be interesting to see. And again, and just with this nature of college football, with how much turnover there is, with the transfer portal and just people being able to move freely, and the NIL and revenue sharing, and just how, again, we're not going to see the old days of Miami where you have a chance to win so many titles in such a short amount of time. There's too much parity now. I mean, Indiana was the only undefeated team. Everyone else of merit in college football had at least 2 losses by the end of the year.
Right.
It's just, there's so much parity. There's so much of a more even playing field that the real programs that are able to stay in the mix and be able to find a way to stay in that upper echelon consistently, maybe not be the national contender every year, but be in that conversation. You need to make sure that you are part of that.
Yeah.
Miami, again, like we said, this was really the step one of getting there. After 3 years of lead up, this was step one towards attempting to get to that point.
The portals really evened out things in some respects, because in the past it was like you had your Alabamas and your Ohio States, and it felt like it was like this unbreakable wall there, like a top tier. You could achieve only so much if you were other programs, and Miami was there that year that they were 10-0 and lost the last three. That's kind of where it was like, it was that, but can they compete with the highest level? And then this team, as it was building up in the last couple of years, again, even last season, it was like, but are they there? Are they at the top where they can compete with the upper tier? The ACC goes in there last year. Miami didn't get to be a part of the playoff. The ACC went in 2 teams and got spanked. And you're thinking, crap, could this have happened to Miami? Maybe they're not ready for prime time yet. This team was more than ready for prime time, even when people doubted that they should even be in the prime time. Yeah. So, again, a remarkable job by them. And not to get too caught up in Indiana, because I know this is a show about the Hurricanes, but hats off to Fernando Mendoza.
Oh, no doubt.
And his family, because Miami gave them their best shot literally at times yesterday, a couple of them, which, Indiana fans and Kurt Signetti lamented should have been called. He cut his lip. They bloodied him up. That quarterback keeper was tremendous on his part. Yes. Unfortunately for Miami, the irony of Wesley Bassint being one of the guys that went in there to try and get the tackle and couldn't get it. Almost like you want to say maybe that's a little bit of personal payback for Fernando after the Cal loss the year before. But all in all, what a story. And again, and this is why I'm bringing it back to the point of, you probably don't see Indiana do this a couple of years ago. But now a team like Indiana can build this in 2 years and make this surge and be a national champion. I mean, it really, going to the parity argument you were talking about, and Mendoza being at the heart of it. Shout out to his family too.
Yes.
Really great to see you guys on the field yesterday, and thank you as always. And speaking of the family, Alberto Mendoza officially, as of Tuesday morning, has entered the transfer portal, as we saw, Jordan. So not coming to Miami, but interesting if he ends up somewhere else to continue. I mean, again, I've said it I think I've told 20 different people this year. If you think Fernando's good, wait till you get a load of Alberto on the field. Yeah,
and according to 247 with Alberto, it looks like a couple of teams that are pursuing him are Georgia Tech and Duke. The latter of those two names is very interesting.
Brings us back to Miami.
Which brings us back to where Miami is, because with Miami's quarterback situation, it's looking like it's all but a formality that Duke quarterback Darian Mensah is going to be transferring to Miami. He entered the portal on Friday at the very last second. Friday was the last day for all players not on Miami or Indiana, not playing in the championship game, to enter the portal. And it basically looks like Miami became the front runner very quick. And it looked like right now it's just a formality of getting all the paperwork done. And if that happens, 3rd year in a row where Miami's getting a top transfer portal quarterback. I mean, Mensah started at Tulane, was great there, goes over to Duke, finishes the season with 3,973 passing yards, second nationally. His 34 touchdown passes were tied for second nationally. And again, he helped get Duke, granted a 5-loss Duke, to the ACC championship game and to get them to win the ACC. And just a reminder, Miami plays Duke this season. That was the 9th conference team that was added to their schedule as part of the expanded conference play. And we don't know what the exact order of the schedule is, but Duke is one of the few teams that Miami is playing that, like Miami, does not have a season opener set yet. So, could be some very interesting dramatics to start the season if things play out that way.
I'm crossing my fingers for either FSU against Miami at home to kick it off, because obviously enough said, the rivalry, all that.
Yeah.
Or the Alberto Mendoza starting debut with Duke. How about that? They face one brother, and now they face the other brother to start the 2026 season.
While Miami has Duke's former starting quarterback as well. And
let's not forget on the sideline.
And Manny Mario, and ACC champion against national runner-up.
Correct. ACC champion versus the one that took the ACC to the greatest heights this year.
Scheduling gods, if you are listening to the Eye on the U podcast, make this happen.
Yeah, just a hint, just a subtle hint. Nudge, please.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
It would be a tremendous. It would be tremendous. Let's just put it that way. I'm gonna look up while we continue on this show. I'm gonna look up Miami's overall schedule for next year to talk about that. Yeah, we know that game. So far, September 12th against FAMU at home. Central Michigan, September 26th, and of course, that big rematch in South Bend, old school Miami at Notre Dame. That's on November 7th, though, later in the season.
Yeah.
The rest of the games don't have a date yet. Duke, we just said. Miami has a trip to Clemson next year. Another big one. They visit Bill Belichick's Tar Heels next year. They hit the West Coast like they did a couple years ago. This time it's at Stanford. They'll be at Palo Alto. And they have a game at Wake Forest as well. The home games, VTech, Pitt, and as we said before, FSU, Duke. Oh, and Boston College is also a home game next year too. So interesting with that extra conference game next season, Jordan.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the schedule. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting one. I mean, again, they need to be tested. Again, that was their downfall in 2023 when they started 9-0. It was okay, but you didn't really face anyone. This year, that Notre Dame game at the start of the season, we saw how pivotal that proved to be, that win, in terms of getting their shot in the playoffs. That game, the Pitt game,
right,
going undefeated against ranked opponents until the very end. That having that blend of a schedule, which again, a lot of it is up to just the conference scheduling, but to be able to have the Notre Dame game in the non-conference portion and to be able to have a pretty balanced ACC schedule should be good for Miami in 2026.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have a good mix of home and road. You know, obviously the Duke game we mentioned. Pitt is at home, but you get the tests on the road too. You get if they get through challenges like going to Clemson and winning in Death Valley, and obviously if they could pull off a victory at South Bend, that'd be tremendous to everything. And again, it's the goal next year. I think is going to be obviously the main goal is to climb that final hurdle and win the national title. Now you can go in there and it seems more realistic. Like before, I mean, again, this is talking from the outside. I'm sure on the inside they all believed it, but talking from the outside, people were, I think they were, this team could be in the playoffs. They've got a lot of talent. Let's see what happens. But now they truly look like a bona fide national title contender. But I think it's the leave no doubt part when it comes to the regular season. It's let's not have these hiccups. You know, like you said, it's very hard to go undefeated nowadays. So the schedule's longer, you know, much more stacked, much more parity.
Yeah. But
you can't have two bad hiccups like they did this year. That's what they have to avoid next year as well.
Correct. Yeah. Again, one game's a mulligan. Almost in this day and age, every team's almost guaranteed to have one loss or have one game where you may not look your best that people will probably look to the side. A second can be a death sentence. That was the case in 23. It was almost the case this year. It's, again, like you said, leave no doubt, continue building that standard that was set and was basically reinforced and basically energized and pointed out to during that playoff run. Play like they did in that playoff throughout the course of the playoffs, results being what they may, play with that effort, that intensity, and that want to, and the sky's the limit for this team. Yeah,
no doubt about it. So we've talked about Darian Mensah for sure being the highlight of the whole transfer portal season that's underway now. Right after the real season ends, here we go. The portal opens and madness ensues. But who else? What other happenings in the portal, Jordan, do you expect with this team in the next few days?
Yeah, well, I mean, Miami already has 6 other players who have announced that they are committing to Miami, and they're filling some of the key needs that they're going to have. They have 2 wide receivers already committed in West Virginia's Cam Vaughn and South Carolina's Vendrivius Jacobs, which will basically fill the C.J. Daniels, Keelan Marion roles. Omar Thornton from Boston College and from Plantation American Heritage.
Yep.
Is transferring in from Boston College. He's going to fill the Keontae Scott nickelback role. That's basically what he's played the last couple of years out in Boston College. They have 2 kicker transfers, Jake Weinberg from Florida State, who also is from South Florida, noted Florida Panthers fan as well, I have been told. So coming home to be able to be here, see some
Hey,
pretty successful hockey there as well.
And
Go ahead.
a timeout.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Panthers for being aware of the moment. You know,
Yes.
I know they've done this before with other teams, but that was pretty cool to see a lot of the outpouring of support that the Florida Panthers had for the Hurricanes yesterday. I know Keith Tkachuk is a big Panther guy now, but
Matthew Tkachuk, the player, not the dad.
Jesus
not
Christ,
the dad.
Anyway, that's that.
Yes.
Here's my brain after 3 a.m. After a 3 a.m. Going to sleep after last night.
But specifically with Matthew Tkachuk, I want to shout out him specifically because makes his season debut on Monday after missing the entire first 47 games or whatever it was, recovering from his offseason surgery. That game was at 6. It ended around 8:30 or so. He still managed to make it to the stadium for the finish. Yeah. So shout out to Matthew Tkachuk for getting it done, getting it out there.
Hustle.
He predicted a 24-21 Miami win, but obviously came up short there.
It was close.
Again, no, it definitely was close. But again, Matthew Tkachuk, how much he's ingratiated and got himself into the college football scene down here. Remember, he was the guest picker for game day during the Miami Florida game. First NHL player ever to be the celebrity guest picker. And he is invested in the University of Miami. He said he and his brother Brady also have a podcast that they started up this year while they were both injured. And Matthew said on that podcast, he wants to try to get the University of Miami hockey team to the D1 level and said he will be willing to invest in making that happen. Wow. And again, they have a team right now that's playing in one of the lower levels. I actually seen a couple of their games, but if he's able to put in that investment and make some moves there, that'd be something absolutely wild to see happen. But all right, tangent over. Yeah, but
well, we've had a winter classic in South Florida.
Yes.
There are ice hockey teams at the high school club level in Broward.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the craziest thought to think.
Definitely not. But yeah, transfer portal stuff. The 2 wide receivers, safety, the 2 kickers, and then Jarquez Carter, who is a true freshman at Ohio State, didn't play much, but will add some depth to the interior Miami's defensive line, which is obviously losing David Blay. And then they had a couple other guys, Adonta Simpson and Dalen Russell, both local guys who entered the transfer portal. So they need to restock there. They need to get some defensive tackle depth. Jarquez Carter will fill that. I feel like they're going to need to go in and get at least one linebacker. And then they're probably going to have to get an offensive lineman. They're looking at the kid from Colorado. He's taking a visit to Miami or already took a visit. Don't remember the specific details on that, but Colorado's offensive tackle, he's one of the top guys in the portal right now. If you get that, and then you look at the recruiting class they already have, offensive line-wise with Jackson Cantwell, receiver-wise, they have 4 really good guys, highlighted by Samarian Wingo and Milan Paris, who should be able to step right in immediately. Again, it looks like Miami has some really good pieces here that are going to be able to fill in the gaps that are going to be left by a lot of these big guys who are leaving after the season.
Yeah, time to reload if you're the Hurricanes, and I think they're already off and running when it comes to that for sure. They secure a good quarterback that will kind of keep the tradition going. It's kind of interesting how this continues to happen in terms of not just here, but now. You kind of wonder too on the developmental side for these quarterbacks that are recruited out of high school too. I mean, they've kind of been waiting their turn. Yeah. Look at Alberto Mendoza. Now after 2 years, he's bouncing from Indiana. So I mean, kind of in a sense, you can't blame him. I mean, Luke Nichols kind of in that same spot for Miami right now as they bring in Menso. He's been waiting his turn too. So interesting with that whole thing, Jordan, and throughout college football, not just in Miami.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that's also it's a side effect of the transfer portal and players being allowed to transfer however many times they want. I mean, there's some players who have transferred 6-7 times, and it's just like at some point they need to go back. I mean, I'm an advocate of 1 free transfer without restriction, 2nd and beyond, you have to sit a year.
Yeah.
I am beyond the proponent of going back to that route. And it's just because otherwise it's a wild west. It's free agency every year. There are some schools where it's like, University of Florida specifically, when it's their players, it's all their guys who may or may not go to the transfer portal. When guys say they're coming back, they're being announced by all the outlets as they've re-signed. And it's like, what is this re-signing phrase? It's like,
Right.
Once you sign your NIL, once you sign everything, it's like you're with them until you're not. So it's making it sound like it's everything's on a 1-year basis now, which it's just it ruins the college atmosphere, the college portion of college sports, where it's like it's literally just it's okay, you're at a college by name only at this point.
Right. You're what you said is funny because I that made me cringe recently too, and I'm like, why are we now making this a thing? Like you're supposed to be there for the 4 years. If you break the contract and you leave and you transfer, okay, fine. But it's kind of implied that you're going to be there until when you graduate or whatever, unless you decide to go. I don't know. Yeah, and I don't like it either. I'm with you. I think that in that sense, you're sort of promoting the chaos and the going back and forth. I mean, the rule you're talking about, they should institute that at the high school level too. I mean, it's become a free for all there as well.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Yeah. And then there are other things, like I remember one instance, it was I think it was an Oklahoma State offensive lineman enters the transfer portal and then goes, his list of official visits include this team, Oklahoma State. Like, didn't you just say you're transferring from them? Why are you taking an official visit to a school you're already playing for?
Right.
What the heck does that mean? It's just...
Well, look at Oregon. Dante Moore is coming back. Yeah. And they just had a quarterback transfer in.
Dylan Raiola,
Dylan Raiola, a notable quarterback.
Yes.
So now you have a log jam at that spot at Oregon. So what's going to happen now? So
and the fact that there's only one portal period now, this is the only portal period. There's no transfer portal post spring anymore. Mm-hmm. They took that out last year was the last time doing it. So once you pick a school, you're locked in for that next season. Even if you go into spring practices and whatnot, and then realize where you are in the depth chart, and it's, this place may not have worked out. I mean, UM had a couple of those guys last year, even where it was, they come in, they loaded up with like 7 or 8 different cornerbacks, and a couple of them realized they weren't going to get playing time, so they went by. And so to try to salvage the year that they could potentially have, it's going to be very interesting how that unfolds, and it's going to probably make some guys have to think a little bit harder about where they end up going and making sure that they make the right decision, because they don't really, once you make this decision, it's final. You don't get the do-over after spring ball.
Right. Yeah, it's the changing landscape of college football, college sports, not just football, but yeah, a lot of layers to it, and yeah, you just hope it doesn't kind of ruin the the feel of the game, too. Like it should matter. Your college should matter, and it also creates that bond. We've seen it. I mean, Indiana was a bonded team. I mean, that doesn't work. That doesn't work if those guys don't want it as bad as they do for the person next to them, the player. Mendoza talked about it in the post game. He's like, those guys are putting their body on the line for me. The least I could do is do it for them. And he was talking about his linemen. He was talking about his receivers, everybody. When you're bouncing one to the next, to the next, to the next, how do you have that loyalty? How do you have that after a while? Your loyalty is to this, I guess. I don't know. I know we could go on forever on this topic, but I mean, I'm glad
we'll probably talk about it a lot more throughout the offseason as things start to formalize and crystallize and rosters start to shape up.
Yeah. I mean, we're not being naive. This is important, no doubt about it. It's the whole reason NIL's even, started in the first place. But there's got to be some kind of happy balance here to get to everything. So until then, do anything else, Jordan? I know we talked a lot about just reminiscing on this season. What a season it was. We're looking forward to the future of this team. It's basketball season now for the Canes, for people who are starting and right away shifting their attention to the teams. An unfortunate loss for Miami at Clemson on Saturday, maybe overshadowed a little bit by all this hoopla for the national title game. But Miami dropped their 3rd game this season. And there's a common denominator there, all ranked teams, Jordan. It seems like, speaking of walls to break through, this basketball team is much improved. Don't get me wrong, 15 wins. They've already more than doubled their win total from last year. But they still have not been able to crack through that next tier and been able to beat a top 25 team. And until they do, I mean, right now, if you look at bracketology being thrown around, they would make the tournament. But that's the next step. Like, can this team has this team hit a cap of how good they're going to be this year? Or do you think there's still room to grow? And can this team, by middle of the end of the season, break through? They play Tuesday night against FSU.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just the fact with how new this team is, again, every player on this team is new to the University of Miami, whether it's freshmen or transfers or what have you. The fact that they've done what they have done with basically having to start completely from scratch, it just, you have to think that there's still another gear hidden inside this team, and they just have to find it. And that's, again, that takes time. And unfortunately, with college basketball, even more so than college football, you don't really have that time. It's almost every year feels like it's a brand new team. It's just with, again, all the shuffling and all the movement and a less amount of guys to be able to figure all this out. But I feel like there still is at least one more gear in this team. I think they'll find it, but it's a matter of, will they find it too late? That's going to be the main question going down the stretch of conference play. It'll be interesting to watch them fall and see what Jay Lucas is able to do. But again, they have some time. Let's see what they can do. And then beyond basketball, we're a week away from UM baseball practices starting up. And we're about 3 weeks away from the baseball team, JD Arteaga, 1 win away from getting to Omaha last season. Starting up their season and trying to replicate that success and try to finally get back to Omaha after it's been a 10-year drought now. 2016 was the last time they made it to Omaha. But they knocked on the doorstep last year. They brought they have a few of their big guys back. They have a really good incoming recruiting and transfer class. And I think JD Arteaga has something cooking down with Mark Light this year.
Well, they're all about ending droughts at Miami these days. They did it in football. Baseball might be next. We'll see how that turns out. This isn't something that's cooking, but it's gonna be made pretty soon. You know what that means, Jordan? Mark Light shake time.
Yes.
It's almost time. Almost time to get those over there. Hear the voice of J. Rokeach, the legendary announcer for Miami for so many years in the press box again. Almost time to hear those bats hitting the ball and baseball time. As you know, Jordan and I both baseball writers in our careers, so we love that game and being around it as well. So always a fun time there. Real quick, going back to the basketball, Miami plays FSU, like I said, Tuesday night. They're honoring Coach Larinaga during the game, I believe, and well deserved. Speaking of droughts, or the drought that more than a drought, it had just never happened. Coach L taking Miami to the Final Four for the first time a couple of years ago. On a sad note, we didn't mention it last week because it had just happened when we were recording this show. But our condolences to the family of Bill Courtney, former UM coach. I mean, kind of out of nowhere, really, really just sad news that hit us. Passed away so young too. I mean, really at that age, just
55.
You don't at 55, you don't expect that, obviously. But really sad to see him. I mean, here's a guy who came in after Coach L stepped down and did what he could that interim season and was really a stabilizing presence in probably one of the most difficult situations UM basketball has ever had in the history of their program. But our hearts go out to this family. Just wanted to kind of throw that in there, Jordan.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I don't do too much on the basketball beat, but I was able to be at a few of Coach Courtney's press conferences, especially right at the beginning. And you could just tell the enthusiasm, the passion that he had, and the commitment that he brought in, knowing the situation. He and Coach L go all the way back to their George Mason days.
Yeah.
They were best friends, in addition to being a 1-2 punch on their coaching staffs throughout all of Coach L's tenures. And to see what he was willing to do, knowing what the situation was, and to try to keep that group as close and as upbeat and as involved as they were when they knew the season basically was already gone sideways was absolutely commendable. Yeah, just condolences to his family and just hard to see. Hard to see.
Hard to believe that it really is. So in a way, transitioning back to it's good they're honoring Coach L too, and have that moment, this week coming up for Miami as they look forward. I mean, we'll see how Miami does on the basketball side. FSU not having the best of seasons up in Tallahassee, so in theory, a game for Miami to get back on track against the rival. But it's always tough because there's been years where the Seminoles have come down here and played and even beaten Miami when I think it might have been, I don't remember if it was the Elite Eight or the Final Four year. They came down and they were having a tough year and they beat Miami. They handed Miami one of their losses down the stretch that people worried at the time was going to damage their resume. So, you gotta stay on your toes in ACC play night in and night out. And that, like you were saying about the time frame about gelling and everything together, you're being tested every 2-3 days once you're in conference play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And also, since we were talking about them honoring Coach L, the women's basketball team at their next home game, January 29th, they're going to be honoring Katie Meyer.
Yeah.
She's getting her banner reveal as well. So both legendary coaches are getting their well-deserved love, respect,
Definitely.
and honoring. Again, Katie Meyer, absolutely fantastic run under her tenure, got the women to the Elite Eight, and she just was absolutely great in terms of getting that program to a place where it's never been.
And one of my favorite coaches that I've ever covered at any level, let me tell you, because she was always super cool to talk to. I remember when I was not starting, but like I was still much younger in this, and followed them to Spokane, Washington. And I remember calling through their SID and getting an interview with her the next morning after Miami was done, after they got eliminated. I needed to do a follow-up story to their season. She was nice enough to take some time, and talk to me. I'm here looking out my window and it was snowing. And, she was very gracious about that, especially thinking about like you just got eliminated in the second round, you're disappointed, you're down, all that. She was always up very, very good with the media. And that's something that I always respected about her throughout her years there as well. In addition to everything she accomplished, following in the footsteps of coaches they've had in the past, like Fern Labate. She did a great job keeping that standard, and we'll see, now if Miami can get back to those heights in the near future as well.
Yeah, again, and under Tricia Cull, bring out second year, they're 11-7 right now. They're 3-4 in ACC play. They're in a bit of a road stretch right now. They've got, I'm just looking at this. They've got a few games on the road right now. They just lost 73-62 on Thursday to UNC. They're at Notre Dame Thursday, at SMU on Sunday, and then they're home for Coach Meyer's banner night on the 29th.
There you go. And it's against Duke, I believe.
It is against Duke, yes.
Yeah, go to another tough test for her team right there against that one. Duke's always a quality in women's basketball as well. Another Duke connection. Well, we'll talk about the basketball, but we'll talk a lot more about off-season, wheeling and dealing going on through the portal next week. Eye on the U. We'll take you through the off-season. We'll be back. We'll be back next week. I think from time to time we may take a break here and then now that the football season is done, but we'll have you covered. Jordan, of course, will have you covered. There's still a lot of aftermath of Miami's run to the national championship game to go over in the next couple of days. So check it out at MiamiHerald.com. Until then, for Jordan McPherson, I'm Andre Fernandez. Thank you for watching Eye on the U. Remember, catch us on YouTube at MiamiHerald.com, and we'll see you next week.